All right, so today we're talking about subtracting integers. So we're going to subtract integers and we're going to evaluate expressions containing variables. The table below shows the amount of money remaining in the monthly allowance of 3 children at the middle of the month. A negative amount means the child overspent the monthly allowance and owes his or her parents money. Suppose James, right here, spends $9 between the middle of the month and the end of the month. Write an expression to find his allowance balance at the end of the month. So I could say he spent 9, he had 4, and he is going to owe his parents $5. Okay? So let's see. So we can use the number line to show 4 minus 9 equals negative 5. If we started at 0 and we went over to 4, and then we subtracted 9, so we went to the left 9, and that would end at negative 5. Now you will see that on the last lesson we did adding integers, what we did when we had different signs is we did 4 plus, and we used the additive inverse of 9 and used negative 9 equals negative 5. So we changed it to an addition problem and solved it. Okay, so basically that's like saying 2 minus 7 is the same thing as 2 plus a negative 7. Then you can simply add them or subtract them and take the sign of the larger. Okay? So let's look at some examples of that. We have 9 minus 17. We can rewrite that as 9 plus negative 17. Now they're opposite signs. One's positive, one's negative, so we subtract them. 17 minus 9 is 8, and keep the sign of the larger absolute value, which would be 17, so it's a negative 8. On B, we have negative 7 minus 3. Again, we could rewrite that as negative 7 plus a negative 3. Now they're the same sign, so all we have to do is add them and keep the sign. 7 plus 3 is 10, so negative 10. Couple more examples. 6 minus 15. Again, we can rewrite that as 6 plus a negative 15. They're different signs, so we subtract them and keep the sign of the larger absolute value, which in this case is 15, so the answer is going to be negative. 15 minus 6 is 9, and since it's negative, it would be negative 9. Negative 7 minus 8. Again, change that to 7 plus a negative 8. And then same sign, so we just add and keep the sign. 7 plus 8 is 15. They're both negative, so negative 15. Okay? And I'll pause the video for a second, try 1A, 1B, and see what you get. All right, let's see how you did. So you could rewrite this as 4 plus a negative 15. Different signs, so I subtract and keep the sign of the larger, which would be negative. So it would be negative 11. Negative 3 plus a negative 12. It's the same sign. We know the answer is going to be negative, and we just add 3 plus 12, which would be 15. So negative 15 would be my answer. Okay? All right. All this is saying is, this is telling us that we can do either way. We can add the additive inverse, or we could subtract an integer. So for example, if I'm taking 4 and I add the additive inverse, so if I use 2, the additive inverse is negative 2. 4 plus a negative 2 is going to give me 2. 1, 4 plus the additive inverse of negative 1 gives me 3. 4 plus 0 is 4. And 4 plus the additive inverse of negative 1 is 5. And here we are over here where we're subtracting. 4 minus 2 is 2. 4 minus 1 is 3. 4 minus 0 is 4. And 4 minus the negative 1 is going to give me 5. And how that works is we have 4 minus a negative 1. So you may have or may have not have heard something called keep, change, change. And what that basically means is I can keep whatever the sign is on the leading term and then change the signs in between. Just kind of helps me remember that when I have two negative signs together, that I will change those to a positive sign. So this would be 5. So this would become 4 plus 1, or 5. Okay, so keep, change, change. Let's look at a couple examples of that. Okay, we have 4 minus a negative 5. Again, we would keep, change, change, and that makes it 4 plus 5, or 9. Negative 6 minus a negative 2. Keep the sign in front of the leading number, and then change, and it becomes negative 6 plus 2. Now they're different signs. We subtract and keep the sign of the larger, negative 4. Okay? Again, 9 minus a negative 2. Keep, change. 9 plus 2 is 11. 3 minus a negative 5. Keep, change. 3 plus 5 is 8. Now pause the video, go ahead and try these next two, and then come back. All right, let's see how you did. So we have 18, keep, change, plus 2 gives me 20. We have keep, negative 5, change, plus 11, or 6. Because now they're opposite signs. One's positive, one's negative, so you're going to subtract them. 11 minus 5 is 6, and the bigger is positive, so the answer is positive. Okay? All right. Now we could look at a word problem. Whoa, what happened here? We have the wind makes the outside temperature feel colder than the actual temperature. How much colder does the temperature of 10 degrees Fahrenheit with 30 mile per hour wind feel than the same temperature with a 20 mile per hour wind? If you need to find how much colder 10 degrees Fahrenheit feels with the 30 mile per hour wind than with the 20 mile per hour wind. So with the 20 mile per hour wind, it's like -9, and the 30 would be like -12. So all I would have to do is take the -12, subtract the -9. Keep, change is going to be -12 plus 9. They're different signs, so I subtract and keep the sign of the larger, which is going to be -3. So it feels feels 3 degrees colder. Okay? All right, pause it, try number 3, and then we'll come back and see how you did. Okay, so on Mars, the temperature ranges from 68 degrees Fahrenheit during the day to -220 degrees Fahrenheit at night. Find the change from the day temperature to the night temperature. So I would start with the night temperature and subtract the day temperature, and that would give me the degrees that we fluctuated. Okay, so they have the same sign, so I could rewrite this like this if I chose. And now I just add them and keep the sign. So -288 degrees Fahrenheit. And one way to think about that is if I have a number line and I have -220 way over here, this is 0, and this over here is 68, I have to incorporate to get how many units are between these two numbers. So 220 units to 0 and 68 units to 0 to 68. So that's where you get the 228, and it's a temperature change from day to night, so it's going to be negative. It's going to be dropping temperature. Okay, so think about things logically too. Okay? All right, now we can use the subtracting integers to evaluate expressions. So if we have a minus b minus c, and we know that a is 4, b is 3, and c is -10, we just simply plug them in where they go, and then go left to right. 4 minus 3 is 1. Keep, change. 1 plus 10 is 11. Okay? So take a second, try these, and then come back. Okay? All right. So n is -10, L is 7. So -10 minus 7 can be written like this, and it would give me -17. Now this one would be 7 minus -3 plus a -10. Keep, change. So 7 plus 3 is 10 plus a -10, which would be 0. Okay? All right, a couple more examples. X minus 16 if x is 6. 6 minus 16, that could be the same as 6 plus a -16 or -10. And then a minus b minus c equals, we substitute in what we know. A is 7, b is 2, and c is -3. So 7 minus 2 is 5. Keep, change. 5 plus 3 is 8. Okay? Take a second, answer these, then come back and see how you did. All right, let's see how you did. So negative 8 minus 11 plus negative 1. So this could be negative 8 plus a negative 11 plus negative 1. And this would be negative 19 plus negative 1 would be negative 20. Okay? On this one, we have negative 1 minus a negative 11 minus a negative 8. So we just plug in for the variables. And then this would be keep, change, change. So negative 1 plus 11 minus a negative 8. So this would be 10. Again, keep, change, change, plus 8 is going to give me 18. And then this one would be negative 8 plus a negative 1 minus 11. So this would be negative 9 minus 11, or negative 9 plus a negative 11. And that's going to give me negative 20. All right. If you got any issues or any questions, please just send me an email. Otherwise, have a great evening.